The planet Girana glittered with blue and green forests, its great crystal towers shining under two suns. But inside the royal palace, Princess Lyra stood in the shadows, alone by a window. The golden light touched her silver hair and pale violet skin, but she felt cold. For many years, people whispered about her everywhere she went. Some called her the Broken Princess. Others said she brought bad luck to the royal family. Only a few people ever called her by her name. Lyra remembered when she was small and her father, King Ozek, used to lift her up high and let her ride on his shoulders. She used to believe he was the strongest, kindest man in the universe. But everything changed after her 10th birthday. That was when the royal healers announced that Lyra was infertile. In Girani tradition, it meant she could not have children. For a royal princess, it was the worst news. The king's face hardened, and the queen stopped speaking to her as much. Even the servants avoided her. Lyra started spending most of her time with books and learning, alone in her quiet rooms, away from the busy palace life. She sometimes wondered if life would always be this way. But then, one day, news arrived from the stars. The humans, a race new to the Galactic Council, had arrived. They came in strange, heavy ships with laughter and bold voices. Some Girani feared them, calling them brutes or children. But others whispered that humans were clever and brave. The humans wanted to make peace and trade, and the king saw a new opportunity. He planned a great celebration, inviting the human envoys to his palace for a grand feast. Lyra watched from her window as the humans landed. Their ship was gray and a bit battered, nothing like the smooth silver of Girani craft. But their leader, Captain Ethan Cole, walked out confidently, with a warm smile and bright, curious eyes. He greeted everyone he met, even the youngest servant, or guard, as if he were among old friends. Lyra felt a strange feeling in her chest. She had never met a human before. That evening, the great hall was full of music and light. The tables overflowed with food, fruits that shone like jewels, drinks that sparkled in tall glasses, and sweet-smelling breads. The humans tried everything, laughing and making jokes in their own language. The Girani nobles, stiff and proud, watched in silence. King Ozek sat on his throne, his eyes cold and sharp, as he listened to the human leader's words. After the meal, Captain Ethan stood and thanked the king. He said that humans were honored to meet the Girani, and that Earth hoped for friendship. Lyra watched from her corner, thinking that his words sounded honest. But she noticed her father's fingers tapping on the throne's arm. She knew that look. The king was planning something. When the music faded, King Ozek called for silence. He stood and raised his voice, speaking in the formal tone used for big announcements. As a sign of trust and to seal our new friendship, I offer a gift to the humans, he said. The hall became quiet. I offer my own daughter, Princess Lyra, to join the human envoy. She is a symbol of peace and unity. Lyra's heart stopped. She had not been told anything about this. Around her, the Girani nobles hid their surprise. Some smirked, others glanced at the floor. To them it was obvious why the king offered Lyra. An infertile princess could not strengthen the royal line. She was, in their eyes, useless. Giving her to the humans was a clever way for the king to appear generous, while ridding himself of what he considered a problem. Captain Ethan's eyes widened in shock, but he quickly hid it. He looked around the room, and then at Lyra. For a long moment, he said nothing. Lyra felt her face grow hot. She wanted to run, but her feet stayed frozen. Would he refuse? Would he ask for another gift? Finally, Ethan nodded. His voice was steady, but gentle. We accept your generous offer, Your Majesty. On Earth, every person is valued. Princess Lyra will be treated with respect and kindness as a friend and a guest. He bowed, and the humans clapped politely, not understanding the full meaning. behind the king's gesture. King Ozek smiled, but Lyra saw that it did not reach his eyes. She understood now. Her life was about to change forever. That night, Lyra was taken to her rooms, where human servants waited to help her pack. The palace was silent, as if no one wanted to be seen with her. Only her old tutor, a kind elderly, Jirani named Sira, came to say goodbye. "You are worth more than they know, Lyra," Sira whispered. "Remember that wherever you go." The next morning, Lyra stepped onto the human ship. Captain Ethan greeted her at the airlock. He did. Not bow, but smiled, offering his hand. Lyra took it, surprised at the warmth of his grip. Inside, the ship was nothing like the Jirani palace. It was smaller, filled with busy people and the constant hum of engines. The humans were friendly and curious, asking Lyra questions about her world and laughing at their own strange food. Lyra answered politely, unsure how to behave. She missed her home already, even if it had been a cold place. During the first few days, Lyra spent most of her time alone in the small cabin given to her. She thought about the king's face, the cold way he had spoken, and wondered if she would ever see her family again. Sometimes she stared out at the stars, feeling smaller than she ever had in the palace. But slowly, things began to change. One day, as she walked through the ship's corridors, she stumbled upon a room filled with laughter. The humans were playing a strange game with cards and plastic chips. When they saw her, they waved her over, making space at the table. Lyra hesitated, but Captain Ethan called her by name and smiled. "Sit with us, Princess Lyra," he said. "You can watch or play if you want." She sat down, and the humans explained the rules in simple words. The game was confusing at first, but the humans were patient. For the first time in many years, Lyra felt included. They asked her questions about Jirani games, and soon she was laughing along with them. One of the crew, a young woman named Rosa, showed Lyra how to braid hair in the human way, and gave her a colorful scarf as a gift. Day by day, Lyra learned more about human life. She saw how they helped each other, shared food, and celebrated small victories. When one crew member felt sad, others comforted them. There was no harsh judgment, only encouragement. It was strange and new for Lyra, but she liked it. Captain Ethan often checked on her, making sure she was comfortable. He asked her opinion on little things, like what music to play in the common room or what to cook for dinner. No one had ever cared about her opinion before. Lyra started to smile more, and the humans smiled back. As the ship approached Earth, Lyra felt a mix of fear and excitement. She did not know what waited for her on the blue planet, but for the first time, she dared to hope. Maybe, just maybe, her life would be more than a shadow in someone else's palace. The journey that began as a cruel gift now felt like the start of something new. Lyra didn't know what the future would bring, but with every passing day, she believed a little more in her own worth. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet strength was waking up, a strength that would change not just her life, but the future of two worlds. When the human ship finally reached Earth, Princess Lyra's eyes widened in awe as she looked out of the small window. Earth was so different from Jirana. Blue oceans sparkled under white clouds, and huge green continents stretched as far as she could see. Even from space, she could sense the busy energy of the world below. She wondered what kind of place she would find on the surface. The landing was smoother than Lyra expected. Human technology was not as shiny as Jirani craft, but it was reliable and strong. Captain Ethan Cole led Lyra down the ramp, where a gentle breeze touched her face and filled her lungs with the fresh scent of flowers and trees. For a moment, she forgot all her worries and simply enjoyed the feeling of standing on new soil. A group of humans waited for them, wearing kind smiles and colorful clothes. Among them was Dr. Maria Singh, the ship's medical officer, who shook Lyra's hand warmly. "Welcome to Earth, Princess. I hope you will feel at home here, Dr. Singh said. Lyra was surprised at how open and friendly everyone seemed. No, one whispered behind her back or looked away in shame. Instead, people tried to include her in conversations, asking about her life and her world. It was strange, but it made her feel lighter inside. The humans took Lyra to a comfortable house near a big garden. It was smaller than the Jirani Palace, but filled with soft lights and warm colors. There were pictures on the walls of families, mountains, and smiling children. The kitchen always smelled of fresh bread and fruit. Lyra was given her own room, decorated with flowers and bright blankets, and a small screen that showed moving pictures and music from all over Earth. During the first week, everything felt new and confusing. Lyra tried to follow the human routines, but sometimes she made mistakes. She did not know how to use some of the devices, and the food was very different from what she knew. One morning, she accidentally spilled juice on the table, but instead of getting angry, Rosa laughed and helped her clean it up. "It happens to everyone, even me," Rosa said, smiling. Lyra laughed too, feeling a bit more at ease. As days passed, Lyra became curious about the human world. She learned about their history, their arts, and the different cultures spread across Earth. The humans encouraged her to explore, giving her books and showing her how to use the screen to watch stories, and music. Lyra loved learning about human music. Sometimes she and Ethan would sit together and listen to songs from his childhood. The words were simple, but the feelings were deep. Ethan also showed her the city nearby. They walked through busy streets filled with strange vehicles, bright shops, and people from every corner of the world. No one stared at Lyra's violet skin or silver hair. Instead, people smiled or waved, as if it was normal to see someone from another planet. One afternoon, as they walked through a park, Lyra asked Ethan, "Why do your people treat me with so much kindness? On my world, I was always ignored." Ethan looked at her thoughtfully. "On Earth, we try to see the person, not just the title or what others say. Everyone has value, Princess, even if the world forgets it sometimes." His words made Lyra feel something warm in her heart. As the weeks went by, Lyra grew closer to the humans, especially Dr. Maria Singh. Dr. Singh was gentle and wise, and she often invited Lyra to the small medical office in the house. "You're in a new environment. We should check your health and make sure you're comfortable," Dr. Singh explained. At first, Lyra was nervous. On Jirana, the healers always looked at her with pity, as if she were broken. But Dr. Singh was different. She explained every step of her tests, asked if Lyra had any questions, and treated her like a friend. She took blood samples and used a small scanning device to study Lyra's body. One day, after a long checkup, Dr. Singh frowned at her screen, then smiled. "Princess, did you know that your infertility is not so rare? On Earth, we have something similar, with a simple treatment. Many women recover. I believe you might too." Lyra's heart skipped a beat. But on Jirana, the healers said there was no hope. Dr. Singh shook her head gently. "They did their best, but our technology is a little different. Let's try a few treatments. There's nothing to lose, and it might change everything. For you." Lyra hesitated at first, but after talking with Ethan and Rosa, she agreed to begin the treatment. Every day she visited Dr. Singh, who gave her small pills and used gentle lights to help her body heal. The process was painless, but Lyra felt nervous. She tried not to hope too much in case it did not work. During this time, Lyra found new ways to help the human crew. She shared Jirani stories and songs, taught them how to braid hair in her planet's style, and even cooked a Jirani meal for everyone. The humans enjoyed learning from her, and Lyra began to feel like a real part of the team. One night, as the group gathered around a small fire in the garden, Ethan told a story about Earth's past wars and how humans learned to work together to survive. Lyra listened carefully, then shared a tale of her own, a legend about a Zorani queen who united tribes with kindness instead of force. The crew listened in silence, their faces thoughtful. When she finished, Ethan smiled. "Your story is just what we needed tonight." The days of treatment passed quickly. Dr. Singh was always encouraging, explaining how the treatment was working and what changes to expect. One morning, she called Lyra into her office with a big smile. "I have some news, Princess. The treatment is working even better than I hoped. Your body is healing. There's a good chance you'll be able to have children in the future." Lyra was so surprised that she almost dropped the cup she was holding. "Are you sure?" she whispered. Dr. Singh nodded, her eyes shining. "Yes, I am sure. You are healthy, Lyra. I'll keep watching, but this is wonderful news. For the first time in years, Lyra let herself hope. She rushed outside to the garden where Ethan and Rosa were sitting. Breathless with excitement, she shared the news. Ethan's eyes lit up and he hugged her without thinking. "That's amazing." "Lyra, you see, you're not broken. You never were." Lyra laughed, and for a moment she forgot all the pain from her past. She danced around the garden, singing an old Zorani song of hope. Rosa joined her, clapping in time, and even Ethan tried to follow the steps. As the weeks passed, Lyra's confidence grew. She started to make plans for the future. She asked Ethan to teach her more about human technology and dreamed of returning to Zorana one day, not as a burden, but as someone strong and important. She thought about writing to her old tutor, Sira, to share the good news. Her friendship with Ethan deepened too. They spent hours talking about their worlds, sharing dreams and fears. Lyra found that she could trust him with her secrets, and Ethan in turn shared stories of his family on Earth and his hopes for the galaxy. Sometimes, when the sun set and painted the sky in gold and purple, they sat together in quiet peace, simply enjoying each other's company. Lyra's life had changed in ways she could never have imagined. She had arrived on Earth as a gift, a pawn in someone else's game. Now, she was a part of something bigger. She was learning, growing, and beginning to believe that her story was only just beginning. But unknown to Lyra and her friends, rumors of her new life were spreading back on Zorana. News of the infertile princess who was healing among humans traveled fast, carried by traders and diplomats. In the royal palace, King Ozek heard the whispers. His face grew dark with anger and confusion. The pawn he had given away was becoming a symbol of hope and change, and the future of his kingdom was about to be challenged in ways he never expected. As Lyra watched the stars from her window, she could not know the storms that were gathering on her old world. But on Earth, surrounded by new friends and the promise of healing, she was ready to face whatever came next, with courage, hope, and a heart finally free. Every morning on Earth felt like a gift to Lyra now. She woke up with sunlight streaming through the window, the smell of flowers coming from the garden, and the cheerful voices of humans starting their day. The memories of her lonely rooms in the Zorani palace grew fainter as she filled her life with new experiences and friendships. Lyra loved walking through the city with Ethan and Rosa. She watched children play in the parks, their laughter echoing through the trees. She visited museums full of art and stories, and libraries where books in every language lined the shelves. At first, some of the new things frightened her, like riding in fast cars or tasting spicy food. But Ethan was always there to encourage her. One sunny afternoon, as they strolled along a quiet path, Ethan glanced at Lyra. "You look happy today, Princess. What are you thinking about?" Lyra smiled softly. "I'm thinking about how different my life is now. On Zorana, I always felt like something was missing. Here, I feel like I can breathe." Ethan nodded, his eyes gentle. "You're stronger than you know, Lyra. Everyone here sees that." Those words made Lyra feel even braver. She had learned that on Earth, people valued kindness, effort, and hope. Even mistakes were forgiven, and people laughed them off together. There were no cruel whispers, only encouragement to try again. Dr. Maria Singh became more like family to Lyra with each passing day. The treatment had changed her life. One morning, after another health checkup, Dr. Singh's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Lyra, I have wonderful news. Not only are you healthy, but your body is showing all the signs of perfect recovery. You could even have a family of your own, if that's what you want." Lyra's heart skipped. Could it be true? For so long, she had believed what the Jirani healers said, that she was broken, unworthy of a future. Now, a new world of possibilities opened before her. That night, under the stars, Lyra told Ethan the news. He listened in silence, then grinned, his happiness shining. "I knew it, Lyra. I always believed in you." Lyra laughed, a bright, joyful sound. "Thank you, Ethan. I never thought this day would come." Ethan took her hands gently. "You're more than a princess. You're a miracle, just by being yourself." The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of joy and new plans. Lyra worked with Dr. Singh to learn about human medicine, hoping she could help others when she returned to Jirana someday. She taught the crew how to make Jirani herbal tea and even organized a small festival in the garden to share her culture. The humans loved learning the dances and songs, and Lyra felt proud of who she was. One day, during a walk in the garden, Ethan and Lyra sat on a bench surrounded by flowers. The air was warm and sweet, and the world felt safe. After a long silence, Ethan spoke. "Lyra, you've changed my life. Before I met you, I thought I understood the galaxy. Now I know I have so much more to learn. Would you want to stay on Earth? With me?" Lyra's cheeks turned a soft violet, the Jirani way of blushing. "I would like that, Ethan. Very much." Their friendship blossomed into love, slowly and gently, like the opening of a flower. There were no grand speeches or royal promises, only simple moments of honesty and kindness. Lyra discovered that love on Earth was built on trust, laughter, and shared dreams. She learned to cook Ethan's favorite foods, and he tried to speak her language, making her laugh with his mistakes. One peaceful evening, as they watched the sunset together, Lyra placed her hand on Ethan's. "There's something I want to ask you. On Jirana, families are chosen by tradition, but here, you choose for yourself. Would you marry me, Ethan?" Ethan's eyes widened in surprise, then filled with tears of joy. "Nothing would make me happier, Lyra." Their wedding was small, but beautiful. The crew decorated the garden with flowers and ribbons. Rosa played music, and Dr. Singh gave a short, touching speech. Lyra wore a dress made of silver fabric, shining softly in the sunlight, and Ethan wore a simple suit. They spoke their vows under the open sky, surrounded by friends who had become family. For the first time, Lyra felt truly loved, not for her title, but for who she was inside. Her past as the infertile princess faded away, replaced by hope and new beginnings. A few months after the wedding, Lyra felt a strange new energy in her body. She woke up with a flutter in her stomach, not from worry, but from something wonderful. Dr. Singh ran tests and then hugged Lyra tightly. "You're going to have a child, Lyra. You're going to be a mother." The news spread quickly among the humans. The whole crew celebrated, bringing gifts and sharing stories of childhood. Ethan was overjoyed, and Rosa promised to help with everything. Lyra felt happiness and fear at the same time, but Ethan always held her hand and whispered that they would face it together. But while joy filled the little house on Earth, the news traveled far beyond. A human ambassador sent a message to the Jirani court, letting them know about the miracle. The announcement was meant as a sign of hope, a bridge between two worlds. On Jarana, the news arrived like a storm. In the crystal halls of the royal palace, King Ozek stared at the message, his face turning hard as stone. His counselors whispered in confusion and disbelief. How could Lyra, the infertile princess, now carry a child? And with a human, no less? Some nobles accused the humans of using tricks or lies, while others feared that Lyra's child might threaten the royal line. King Ozek was furious. He refused to believe the news at first, demanding proof. But as more messages arrived, describing Lyra's good health and the respect she had won among humans, the court could not hide from the truth. Some members of the council began to argue that the child, as Lyra's heir, had a claim to the throne. Others insisted that the royal blood must remain pure, and demanded the king take action. Meanwhile, on Earth, Lyra felt the pressure growing. She started to receive messages from distant Jarani relatives, some kind, others full of worry, or even anger. The old pain crept back into her heart. Would her child ever be accepted by her people? Was she risking everything by daring to hope? Ethan tried to reassure her. No matter what anyone says, you belong here, Lyra. Your child will have both worlds, both families. We'll protect you, always. One day, a delegation of Jarani diplomats arrived on Earth. Their faces were cold, and they asked to speak with Lyra in private. Ethan, worried for her safety, insisted on joining the meeting. The diplomats questioned Lyra about her health, the human treatment, and her child. They brought complicated documents and tried to pressure her to return to Jarana. Lyra stood firm. I am not a gift to be passed from one hand to another, she said calmly. I am a daughter, a wife, and soon a mother. I have made my own choices. The diplomats were surprised by her courage. They left without giving clear answers, promising to report everything to King Ozek. But Lyra knew that the real struggle was just beginning. As the days passed, Lyra prepared for her child's arrival. Ethan and Rosa decorated a small room in the house with soft blankets, toys, and pictures of both Earth and Jarana. Dr. Singh watched over Lyra's health, sharing stories of other mothers who faced great challenges and found happiness. Lyra often sat by the window at night, watching the stars and thinking of the world she had left behind. She missed her old tutor Sira and wondered what her people would say when they finally met her child. But she was not afraid anymore. She knew who she was, and she knew her child would be loved. Back on Jarana, King Ozek struggled with anger and confusion. He saw his council divided, his people asking questions he could not answer. The princess he had once given away had become a symbol, a bridge between old traditions and new hope. The king faced a choice: hold on to the past or accept a future he could not control. On Earth, the days grew shorter as a gentle autumn wind blew through the city. In the small human house, Lyra felt both excitement and worry growing in her heart. Her child would be born soon, and everyone around her seemed to glow with happiness. Ethan decorated the nursery with pictures of Earth and Jarana, and Rosa knitted small hats and socks for the baby. Even Dr. Singh visited more often, checking Lyra's health and sharing advice with a kind smile, but not all the news was good. Each week, more messages arrived from Jarana, some hopeful, some angry, and some cold and official. The Jarani court was in chaos. King Ozek refused to believe his daughter could have a child. He ordered his scientists to find proof that Lyra's pregnancy was a trick. Some of the old nobles demanded the king bring Lyra home and punish her for shaming the royal blood. Others, quietly and carefully, began to wonder if maybe the humans had discovered something valuable, something the Jarani doctors had missed. The pressure grew every day. Lyra's name filled the news on Jarana, and crowds gathered outside the palace, asking questions and arguing. Some people cheered for the princess who had overcome her fate. Others warned that the king's anger could bring war with the humans. Many simply waited, wanting to see what would happen next. One cold morning, a new group of Zirani diplomats arrived at Lyra's house. They wore beautiful robes and golden badges, showing their high rank. Ethan watched them closely, his eyes narrowed. Rosa offered them tea, but they refused. The leader, Ambassador Vakar, spoke in a stiff voice. "Princess Lyra, King Ozek demands your return. He says your child cannot be an heir, and you must answer for your choices." Lyra's hands trembled, but her voice was steady. "I am not a child anymore, Ambassador. I am a wife and a mother. My place is with my family." Ambassador Vakar frowned. "If you refuse, the king may break the peace with Earth. He believes you are being used. He fears for the future of Jirana." Ethan stepped forward. "Lyra is not being used. She's our family. She has the right to choose her own life." The diplomats spoke in sharp whispers among themselves, glancing at Lyra with suspicion. They left a thick packet of legal documents full of old Jirani laws and warned that the king's patience was ending. "You have 1 week to return. After that, we cannot guarantee your safety," Vakar said coldly as he left. The house felt colder after the diplomats departed. Lyra sat at the kitchen table, her eyes full of worry. Ethan placed a gentle hand on hers. "You don't have to go back, Lyra. Earth is your home now. No one will force you to leave." But Lyra shook her head. "I do not want to run away. My child deserves to know both worlds, and the people of Jirana, many of them are waiting for hope, not more anger." Rosa hugged her gently. "We'll stand with you, whatever you decide." That evening, Lyra called a meeting with her friends and the human leaders who had helped her. Dr. Singh, Ethan, Rosa, and even a few trusted Earth diplomats sat around the table. Lyra spoke honestly about her fears. "If I go back to Jirana, the king might punish me or my child. If I stay here, he may attack Earth. I want peace, but I will not be silent or ashamed anymore." Dr. Singh nodded. "You are not alone, Lyra. We will protect you. But maybe there is a way to speak directly to the people of Jirana. Show them the truth in your own words," Ethan agreed. "If you talk to the galaxy, maybe the king will have to listen too." With help from Earth's government, Lyra recorded a message to be broadcast across both worlds. She wore her finest silver robe, her hair braided with flowers from both Earth and Jirana. Her voice was calm but full of feeling. "My name is Lyra, daughter of King Ozek. Many years ago, I was called the Infertile Princess and sent away from my home as a gift. But on Earth, I was given respect and kindness. The humans healed my body and helped me discover my true strength. Now, I am a wife and soon a mother. My child is a child of two worlds, a bridge, not a threat." She looked into the camera, her eyes shining with tears. "To my father I say, I am not ashamed. My child is your grandchild. To my people I say, do not fear the future. Change can bring hope. And to the galaxy I say, let us build peace, not walls. I ask for the right to live in dignity for myself and my family." When the message was broadcast, it swept across Jirana and all the connected worlds. Some people cheered, some wept, and some grew angrier. In the palace, King Ozek watched. In silence, his hands clenched. His counselors argued. "She has turned the people against you," shouted one. "No, she has shown them hope," said another. The king did not answer. For the first time, he looked old and uncertain. Back on Earth, Lyra's message brought her support and new friends. Alien ambassadors from other worlds sent notes of encouragement. Human leaders promised to defend her family if needed. But the Jirani diplomats at the Earth Embassy grew more desperate. One of them, a young woman named Kira, secretly visited Lyra. "Many of us are on your side, princess," she whispered. "The old ways cannot last forever." The week passed quickly. On the 7th day, another Jirani ship landed in the city. This time, it was not diplomats, but a team of royal agents, their faces hard with duty. They tried to enter Lyra's house, claiming they were there to escort her back to Jirana. Ethan and Rosa blocked the door, while Dr. Singh called for help. Security teams from the Earth government arrived, and soon a crowd of humans and aliens surrounded the house. Lyra stood tall at the window, her hand resting on her belly. She spoke through the intercom, her voice clear for everyone to hear. "I will not go with you. My home is here, and my child will be born free. If the king wishes to see me, he must come himself, not send threats." The agents hesitated, seeing the support Lyra had among the people. Finally, after long hours, they left. The crowd cheered, and Rosa cried with relief. Ethan hugged Lyra tightly, whispering, "You were so brave." But Lyra knew that the story was not over. In the palace, King Ozek paced back and forth, his anger battling with his sorrow. He ordered his scientists to study the reports from Earth, to learn what the humans had done. Quietly, he sent a message to Dr. Singh, asking for details about the treatment that had healed his daughter. For the first time, the king wondered if perhaps he had been wrong. Meanwhile, Jirana itself was changing. Young people marched in the streets, carrying signs of peace and hope. Old traditions were questioned, and new ideas spread. The news of Lyra's stand inspired others who felt trapped by the past. Teachers spoke of her courage. Mothers told their children that change could be good. Lyra received hundreds of messages from Jirani people, some angry, but many grateful. A young girl wrote, "You give me hope, princess. I want to be strong like you." An old healer apologized for not helping her years ago. "Forgive me, Lyra. I did not know there was another way." Ethan and Lyra spent many quiet nights talking about the future. "Do you think your father will ever accept us?" Ethan asked one evening. Lyra sighed, brushing her hair back. "I do not know, but I believe things can change, even for him." Finally, as winter began, a message arrived from King Ozek himself. It was short, formal, but honest. "I wish to see my daughter. I wish to understand." Snow fell softly on the city, turning the streets white and quiet. In the small house where Lyra lived, everyone moved gently, as if not to disturb the magic of the moment. It had been months since her message to the galaxy, months of hope, fear, and waiting. Now, at last, the day had come. The day King Ozek would arrive on Earth. Ethan helped Lyra wrap herself in a warm silver cloak. He brushed her hair and kissed her forehead. "You look strong," he said with a smile, though his own hands trembled a little. Rosa brought a small flower from the garden, placing it behind Lyra's ear. "For courage," she said. Dr. Singh came last, carrying a medical bag and words of comfort. "Remember, Lyra, you have friends everywhere." They all waited together at the city's spaceport. The landing field was surrounded by both humans and Jirani, their eyes wide with curiosity. Some reporters whispered into cameras. Some old Jirani nobles stood stiffly in the cold, unsure what to expect. The human security team watched closely, ready to keep peace. When the Jirani royal ship finally landed, its hull shimmered like ice. A ramp unfolded and King Ozek appeared. He wore the robes of his station, bright and heavy, but his face seemed older, marked with lines of worry and thought. Behind him walked two counselors and a young woman Lyra remembered from her childhood, a cousin she had once played with long ago. Lyra stood straight, her heart pounding, her hand in Ethan's. When her father reached the bottom of the ramp, she stepped forward and bowed in the Jirani way. "Welcome to Earth, Father." King Ozek stared at her for a long time, as if searching for the little girl he had lost. Then, slowly, he gave a short, stiff bow in return. Lyra, he said, his voice low. You have changed. Yes, Lyra replied softly. I have changed. The world is changing too. There was a silence that seemed to last forever. The two worlds watched, waiting to see what would happen next. Inside the city's great meeting hall, humans and Jirani sat side by side. The room was filled with light and warmth, though the air was tense. Lyra sat with Ethan and Rosa at one table. King Ozek and his advisors sat across from them. Dr. Singh and several scientists were there to share their knowledge if needed. The meeting began with the old words of peace, spoken in both Jirani and human languages. An Earth diplomat welcomed everyone and reminded them that this was a meeting for understanding, not fighting. King Ozek was the first to speak. I came to see with my own eyes. My daughter, who was called Infertile, now carries a child. I wish to know how this is possible and what it means for Jirana. Dr. Singh stood and explained everything she had learned. She talked about the medical tests, the treatment, and the differences between human and Jirani science. She showed reports and pictures, always careful to use simple words so everyone could understand. When she finished, she smiled at Lyra. Your Majesty, Lyra was never truly broken. Her condition is common on Earth. With care and kindness, anyone can heal. Some of the Jirani nobles looked shocked. Others whispered quietly, realizing how much they had misunderstood. King Ozek's eyes were sad. Why did no one on Jirana ever try this? Dr. Singh replied gently. Sometimes, traditions blind us. We see only what we expect, not what is possible. There was another long silence. Then King Ozek turned to Lyra. Daughter, I do not know what to say. I made mistakes. I was afraid of change, but you have shown courage and wisdom. Tell me, what do you wish for your child? And for Jirana? Lyra took a deep breath. She stood, facing both the Jirani and the humans. I want my child to know both worlds, to grow up in a place where kindness is more important than old rules. I want Jirana to change, so no child is ever thrown away or made to feel unworthy. I want peace between our people and a future built on hope. The words moved many in the room. Ethan squeezed Lyra's hand. Rosa brushed away happy. Ears. Even some of the Jirani nobles nodded, remembering their own children or grandchildren. King Ozek was silent for a long time. Then he stood, shoulders heavy but eyes softer than before. Lyra, I do not understand everything, but I see your strength. I see that the old ways must change. You are still my daughter. Your child is my grandchild. I wish to be a part of their life. A soft cheer spread through the hall. The diplomats recorded every word, sending news out to both worlds. Across Jirana, people watched and listened as their king accepted a future they had never imagined. Over the next days, the king visited Lyra's house. He met Ethan and Rosa and listened as Dr. Singh explained more about human medicine. He watched Lyra help Ethan in the garden, laughing and moving with a grace he had never noticed before. At night, the king sat quietly with his daughter, listening, as she told stories about her new life and her dreams for the future. One afternoon, King Ozek asked to see the place where Lyra's child would be born. Lyra led him to the nursery, filled with soft blankets, Jirani and earth toys, and bright paintings on the wall. The king touched a small blanket, then looked at his daughter. You have made a good home, Lyra. I am proud of you. Lyra smiled, feeling tears in her eyes. Thank you, Father. I hope one day you can tell your people that too. When the time came for the king to return to Jirana, he made a public announcement to the galaxy. My daughter, Princess Lyra, is my child and the mother of my heir. Her family is welcome in my palace. We will learn from Earth and work for peace." The news swept through both worlds. On Jarana, people celebrated in the streets. Young girls sang songs about Lyra's courage. Old healers asked to learn more from the humans. On Earth, the news brought new friendships and hope for a peaceful future. Finally, the day arrived when Lyra's child was born. A healthy baby with violet skin like Lyra and bright, curious eyes like Ethan. The house was full of laughter and music. Rosa brought gifts from every part of Earth, and Dr. Singh cried tears of joy. Ethan held the baby gently, whispering promises for the future. King Ozek sent a message of congratulations, promising to visit again soon. Across the galaxy, people spoke of the miracle child, born from love, hope, and the courage to break old chains. In the quiet of the night, as snow still fell, Lyra sat by the window holding her baby. Ethan wrapped his arms around her, and Rosa hummed a soft song. Lyra thought of the journey she had made, from the lonely palace to this warm, bright home. She knew there would still be struggles ahead. Some people on Jarana would resist change. Some would always whisper about the past. But Lyra was not afraid. She had seen what kindness, friendship, and hope could do. She had seen two worlds come together, not with anger, but with understanding, and as her child slept in her arms, Lyra made a silent promise. She would teach them to love both their worlds, to stand strong and gentle, and to always believe in the power of change. Outside, the first light of dawn began to touch the sky. A new day was starting, not just for Lyra and her family, but for the galaxy.